what's up? Welcome back to the CEO Pulse podcast, where you get the real, the raw, and the mind of entrepreneurship. I am sitting down here with my dear friend, William Denis. He is an entrepreneur. He launched his real estate investment business in 2017. He's a co-founder of GDC Capital. It's a company where they do wholesale, fix and flip, and he's been incredibly successful over the span of the last, 5 years, 6 years, and I mean, your journey has been insane. Like last year, bro, you closed 137 deals, did what, over 7 million in revenue for a wholesale company, fix and flip, and I mean, that people take decades, right, to get to a point like that, but bro, you hustle. You hustle. You're like my Cuban brother, man. We resonate in so many different levels. But
I appreciate it.
Yeah, so it's an honor to have you here, man.
Thank you for having me, bro. It's a beautiful office.
So give us a little bit of a breakdown, bro. Like, your background. How did you get started? What were you doing before you jumped into real estate and started crushing, kicking ass left and right?
Yeah. So my background, I was in finance, Merrill Lynch. I went to college, did the whole thing. I went to New York. I got an internship at Merrill Lynch, and then I was there for about a year, and I got fired by my boss. At the time, we just were not jiving. We weren't seeing eye to eye. And when I got fired, I moved back home with my mom, and it was a pretty low moment in my life, right?
Yeah.
But I was super pissed. I remember that very vividly.
This is what, 2016-ish?
Yeah. Maybe like mid to early 2016.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wanted to be on Wall Street my whole life. That was my dream. That was my goal, right? All that. I graduated top of my class. I did everything right in my book, in my opinion. And then it kind of just, went away because I got fired. So when I moved back in with my mom, I just remember being super, super pissed. And I told her, I was like, I'm never, ever, ever working for anyone ever again. And
Did you have like entrepreneur influences in your family, or people that growing up, were you exposed to that kind of stuff, or was it one of those things?
So I come from a single mom and a single grandmother.
Yeah.
So my grandmother took care of us.
Yeah.
And I come from a mom that literally, when she came to this country, she was cleaning houses, back in the 90s. From there to learning how to sell kitchens like marble and granite, and then from there she opened up her own business selling marble and granite, and she grew that, and so yeah, there was always influences around sales, whatever you want to call it, but also very traditional, like Latino, like you got to go to school, get your degree, this is what it is. Yeah. And then that boat crashed and burned. So I think
a lot of times they take that as the American dream, right? Especially if you're coming in from a different country, and Mexico is very similar. Yeah. Like you go in, you do the thing, you go to school, you have to like this is kind of like the path, right? You take the pavement. Yeah. But as entrepreneurs, though, like we it doesn't take too long to realize what's going on, right? Like holy shit! I mean, we're putting in all this effort, all this time. We don't own our own options. We don't own
your own
the
time.
ability to, I don't know, go to pick up and go on vacation with the family if you just feel like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I remember too when I was all throughout, from about 13, 14 years of age, all throughout high school. Yeah. I would buy like broken cell phones on eBay in like a big bulk, and I would fix them, like the camera or the screen or whatever, and I would resell them. So I was like flipping phones, and then I worked for a guy in South Florida that owned the largest tow company. So he would repossess cars, and there was an auction every Tuesday. So I would put the cars on eBay. I'd put 18-wheelers on eBay. Yeah. And I was selling these things like as a little 16, 17-year-old punk, but making good money on the weekends. So I don't know. I guess I always had that, but I went the traditional route to kind of make my parents happy and all that. And then I ended up just, the universe spoke, and I was like, all right, fuck this. I'm
minding your own business.
I was like, I'm done with this.
At the end of the day. Yeah. No, it's interesting, bro. Like my background is similar, right? My mom, she had a mom and pop shop, a small little grocery store in Mexico. So I like growing up, I thought that everybody owned their stuff, I thought like everybody had their own little grocery shop, and single mom as well. Yeah. So I mean, that lady works, and it was it's when you have examples like that, at least, point of reference, it's hard to give up, bro. It's hard to say, man, times are tough, I quit. Because the reality is that, like, we have a lot to I feel like to prove to ourselves because of the inspiration that we have behind us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's very vivid. When you have that happen, I mean, my family left Cuba, and then went to Venezuela, and then Venezuela turned into shit. So that was 2 countries, and then made it here. So I was born here because my mom wanted to be born here, but I grew up in Venezuela till I was about 6 or 7.
Yeah.
So then we came back, and as a single mom and all that. So I always watched her work. I mean, bro, my mom used to leave the house 5:15 in the morning, and I wouldn't see her till 6, 7 o'clock at night. My whole childhood, and she did that because she refused to just kind of go find another man and do that whole thing and put her kids through a stepdad and all that. So, and my grandmother would take care of us, and my grandmother would work too, when she could here and there, but she would take care of us. So my mom could do that. You know what?
It's there's a lot to be said about personal power, like owning your personal power.
Yeah.
We were just talking about that on one of the Mindset Monday episodes, and it's when you have that big sense of owning your personal power, you don't really fall into that state of victimhood.
Yeah.
And the circumstances are shitty. There's always gonna be shit that happens left and right.
They're all over, dude.
Yeah, all over the place. And more so, man, I stand back and I think about it, and like the opportunities that we now have to absolutely crush it and kill it, they didn't. Our parents didn't have a lot of that stuff.
There was no YouTube. Yeah. There was no podcasts like this, that they could tune into and listen.
And expand the perspective and just learn and understand, right? More. So pretty much they were just creating their what they could based on their world, right? Like the sphere that we were living in.
Yeah.
And they still got out of that space into something bigger that really presented opportunities. So going back to the personal power side of things, it's when you have that tenacity, when you have that dream, that desire, and that willingness to say that I'm not gonna give up. I'm not gonna quit. I'm not a fucking victim of my circumstances.
Yeah.
You figure shit out. You go through a couple of different countries if you have to.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
To provide that opportunity and not give up, man. I think big kudos to our moms.
For sure.
Because it's inspiration. I feel not just to us. I feel like when you plant a seed like that, people around you will see it. They will pay attention. And today you got a text from one of my students.
Yeah.
From one brief dinner that we had in Tampa months ago.
Yeah.
You inspired him, and he made a pivot in his life, right? But you just never know the impact that you're gonna have when you hold your ground in terms of personal power and really pushing through.
Yeah, I think when you take that and you make it your own, and you're able to bring that to your own decision making, it was very early on for me that that shift from putting my future, my destiny, whatever you want to call it, in somebody else's hands, and then kind of having it ripped away from me and being fired, and like the embarrassment and going back to my mom and all that woke me up very quickly. And it showed me like, okay, the hard lesson, right? Which is you better take control of your own shit, because if not, this is what happens.
Well, I think it's kind of like the veil of that, or the promise, right? Like, listen, if you go to school, if you do this, if you walk the path, you're gonna have this blanket of security. Guess what? The people at the top of those companies are entrepreneurs. They do they have security? Fuck no.
No.
If something exposes them, or something happens to shift their business out of control, everybody working for that business is gonna have, is gonna be impacted by it, right?
Absolutely.
Somehow, some way, or you get a bad manager. Just somebody who's one step, above you in that hierarchy, and then you're this concept of okay, this is how things roll, and this is just and fair, kind of goes out the window. I mean, it's exactly what happened.
It does. And then when I came back home, just to kind of elaborate more on that story, I came back home and I told my mom that, and I remember my mom very specifically said, well, listen, you can do whatever you want. This is in Spanish, but she said, you can do whatever you want, but you better figure your shit out.
Yeah.
Because
Boom.
this, I mean, you know, I didn't come. It was pretty much a very, very serious conversation that, I think I was 24, 25
I didn't go
at the
through
time.
2 countries.
Yeah, I didn't go through all
Into
this
a
shit.
third.
And her too, my grandmother. For you to be a bum. So
Yeah.
get your shit together. So, and that was kind of a transition. I had a good friend at the time that was, this is like so crazy how I got into real estate, right? And I guess we can get into that. But I fell completely ass backwards into it because I had a really good friend at the time that was doing the diabetic testing strip business. And pretty much he told me, he's like, look, you could put out these bandit signs, which I didn't know what a bandit sign was at the time. For those of you that are watching, those are the little signs that go with the little metal spikes on the side of the road.
When I first heard bandit signs, bro, I was like, do you use them to steal shit? Like,
I know. It sounds like a criminal or some villain or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, and he's like, look, you put these things out, take the calls, and then, go pick up the diabetic testing strips. And dude, imagine, college graduate in New York, living in Manhattan, get fired, move back in with your mom. Ego, pride is completely out the window.
Yeah.
Low point in life. I'm young, broke, in debt, right? And I'm like, well, fuck it. I guess that's what I'll do. And we did that for about 6-7 months. And in that time frame, I was listening to podcasts, right?
Yeah.
I'd always heard that real estate was the way that people get wealthy and all that cliche stuff. And dude, it's funny enough, Sean Terry's podcast was what it was.
Yeah.
Flip to Freedom. I think it might
I
still
didn't
be
know
called
that.
the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was Flip to Freedom, and there was a podcast episode that said how a 23-year-old flipped $15 million worth of real estate, right, last year in South Florida. And dude, I heard the podcast like 4 times, back to back to back to back. And at the end, he kind of gave his company information.
Yeah.
So I looked him up. I called the office. He had said that he went to this high school, right, that a cousin of mine did go to that high school, but they didn't know each other. So I lied to his secretary. She answered the phone. I was like, hey, is so-and-so there? And she's like, yeah, who's this? And I was like, oh, it's Will. It's an old friend from high school. I just lost his number. And, bro, sure enough, she put me on hold. And, like, 2 minutes later, he answered. And he's like, hello, who's this? And I'm like, listen, man, you don't know who I am. I don't know you. And I'm sorry I had to lie to your secretary. But if you teach me everything you know about real estate, I'll split my first 5 deals with you 50-50, and I'll pay for the marketing. And there was like a moment of silence, and he's like, oh, could you be here tomorrow at 11? And, dude, that was it. And 91 days later, we cleared 5 deals, and we were off to the races. So
insane.
But I think that the lesson there, it's not so much.
Did you talk to Chelsea or?
No.
No?
Well,
Oh, okay.
who's Chelsea?
Yeah.
No.
No, I was thinking the secretary over there.
No. No. It was the guy on the podcast that I called.
Oh, okay,
Not he was on Sean's podcast. His
Oh,
episode.
okay. I thought you called Sean.
No.
Okay.
No, I called the guy that
bad,
he interviewed.
Gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Because he was in my market. And dude, I went there, and the moral of the story is when you're really, and I really live my life that way, when you're really determined and you're not deterred, and you set your intention, and we talk about that off mic all the time, but when you set your intentions and when you operate from that space, dude, the universe just fucking moves around you. Yeah. I'm a firm believer in that. So I planted my flag, and internally and to the universe or whatever, law of attraction, whatever you want to call it, I was like, I am not going back.
Yeah.
And like I burned my boats, and this is it. And I could have very easily gotten another little cushy job at some hedge fund or something like that, and I had experience. it would have been no problem, right? And I'm sure I would have done fine.
Yeah, but now the blanket had been kind of removed from your eyes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, and at the time too,
you're seeing the reality of what corporate was, what that type of space
and
was.
I got to give credit where credit is due. My friend at the time, he was a big Tony Robbins guy, and he was much older than me, but he was in his inner circle. So I went to Tony Robbins, and I went to Business Mastery, right? Because he invited me, and that moment changed my life, because I was around a room of people like that, and I'd never been around something like that. All I had been around were academics, right? And, you go to business school. Oh, where'd you go? NYU? Oh, Duke and this and
Totally
that.
different conversations.
Dude, it's a totally different thing. And I was no longer chasing that career. Yeah. So, I started reading all these different books and, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind and affirmations and what the hell is this? And, what can you really wish?
You became an outcast, man.
Yeah, you're like, can you really will yourself into something?
Outcast,
right? Like, no pun intended. And I did, dude. And I didn't know if it was right. I didn't know if it was wrong. I can tell you that it's worked out so far. But yeah, I operated I still operate in that realm, you know. I talk to my girlfriend about that all the time, you know, and we're both very intentional when it comes to stuff like that.
I've been on the personal growth journey, and I mean it's always going to be a journey. Probably for the last 12 years, man, and it's incredible how well you get to understand yourself, like what triggers you, and then somehow, some way, just you know, the vibes come together. You meet the right people because you have this vision in your head. You have this absolute belief that okay, this thing is bound to happen, and when they do, like you can't explain. Like it's hard to put it into a rational, you know. Flow.
You can't rationalize.
Like, you can't. Yeah. It's hard to rationalize
it's
stuff,
energy,
right?
Dude,
but it's the energy. It really is. I mean, and we're getting woo-woo-y here, but but it's it really is the energy of the space, right?
Yeah.
The intention behind it, and it's incredible the type of things that happen. When you elevate your energy, and you have this clarity of the impact or the intention that you're going after. Magic happens, man. I just call it magic. I don't, you know.
Yeah,
that's how I explain it to my kids.
It kind of is like magic.
Yeah, like,
and
how does it work? It's fucking magic.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Well, you know, it's magic, but also too. I mean, I know you operate this way too, but it's also it's a lot of hard work. Like I cannot emphasize that enough. It's a tremendous amount of hard work.
Yeah.
There was so many times, man, where probably thousands of times at this point, right, where I wanted to quit or I wanted to stop, you know, on my journey, crying, you know, almost getting evicted. I mean, you name it, you know. My mom was going through a terrible divorce at the time, so, you know, I was dealing with that too. You know, it was not easy, right? And then it's awesome to see it today because looking back at it in hindsight, you know, my girlfriend's flipping her first property right now, which I'm extremely proud of her for, right? And then my mom flips 20 homes a year, single mom, all on her own, and I taught her the business, which I'm humbled by that, right? So it's come full circle in that regard. You know, I was able to buy my mom a house last year. You know, like when you look at that, you're like, dude, and I'm not saying that to impress anyone. I'm just saying it like that's literally how far you can take it to alter your trajectory and the people around you, you know. It goes back to like your why, you know. We're always talking about that, the why, not the how, right?
It's really that fire that wakes you up in the morning, man, and keeps you motivated when you don't feel like it, right? Like
because it sucks. I mean, it sucks, you know. Like, let's be real on camera. I mean, a lot of days it sucks, right? Like right now, this economy is sucking. It's sucking ass. There's no good way around it, right? But again, there's a lot of opportunity. No one tells you these things, right? It's easier when you can. And again, I'm not hating on anybody for being a W-2 or anything like that. It's just I had a very, very, very clean, rough break with that scenario, and I was never gonna do it again.
I think what happens, man, it's that you know, our thought process breaks. And then you figure out, I mean, it's kind of like, you know, if you learn how to swim, right? Like if you're afraid of the water, you know, the deep end of the pool, because you can't swim, you're going to be afraid of that thing all the time because you just don't know what's on the deep end of the pool.
Correct.
Right? You can't play in that space. You can play in that area. But if you learn how to swim, you're going to dive into it. You're going to go to the bottom of the pool, to the, you know, top of the pool. And now, like, are you going to unlearn to swim? No,
that's like, what I was about to say. You can't unlearn to swim.
Yeah, exactly.
If you hop in the water, your body, even if you were drowning, it's going to naturally, you know, fight or flight.
Exactly.
And you're gonna start swimming.
Like something's going to kick in. And I think that's what happens when we take the leap into entrepreneurship and actually start betting on ourselves and make, you know, real moves, right? As opposed to just talking about the project, talking about this is the idea that I have.
Yeah.
I mean, ideas, you know, fortunately or unfortunately, you know, they're a dime a dozen, right? The action, the implementation behind them is really what you know, gets through the door. In your case, I mean, you moved into something like, fuck it, I have no real, you know, path of where I want to go, but I'm going to start with strips, you know, and you know, that led to something else. That led you to, okay, I got to, you know, find out more. I'm going to listen to podcasts. One conversation, one seed planted in a podcast shifted your entire route, man.
Yeah. And also, let me just chime in
here. It evolves.
Yeah, and let me just chime in here and say, just to be clear, at the time that I was doing the diabetic testing strips, I was making close to nothing, right? My business partner and I. But I was Ubering at night, and I was picking up odd jobs all over the place.
Yeah.
So, you know, I would go through the day and I would do these things. I literally would rent a U-Haul van at night, drive down to Miami, pack 500 bandit signs out there, and from like 11 o'clock at night till 4 in the morning, so the city wouldn't take them, I would put up bandit signs. And I remember super vividly, one night I was out there putting up a bandit sign. It was on US 1 in Miami. Dude, and this is like 1 in the morning, bro. And it starts to fucking pour rain. And I'm out there with like 5 bandit signs in one hand, and I got the other one. Dude, I had a full-blown meltdown in the middle of US 1. I was like, motherfucker. Dude, I was crying. I was getting poured on. It was cold. I dropped the signs. I was like, what
Somebody
the
ran
fuck?
over your dog.
Man, yeah, dude. I was like,
at the same time.
Like, my mind, dude, your mind is so funny. It started running back to like, what are you doing out here, you loser? Like, you could have been in New York and this and that. And dude, that was a low moment. But it's crazy how like
I've been there, man.
Your
I've had
prehistoric
that happen,
brain, dude.
Yeah,
and it like kicks in, and then you get fearful. But that's really where you just got to push it through, right? And it's funny because my first deal, thinking back to that, my first deal was about 2 months after that in real estate. So
3 feet from gold, right?
Yeah, bro. I didn't know it. You know, it was like $11K if I remember correctly, my first payday. But that
was that your biggest payday to that date? 11,000.
That was my first one. Yeah.
No, yeah.
Oh,
but
yeah,
like
in how
life.
life?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
life. Like,
well, I split it 50-50 with the mentor at the time, but yeah, it was $5,500. And dude, I was like,
biggest lump sum.
I had never seen a comma in my account.
Yeah.
I'll put it to you that way. So, you know, my personal account. So that was like, shit. But it was also proof of concept. I was like, man.
Right. It breaks your brain in a really good way, right?
In the best way.
I think what happens is that you start to see the potential of an industry like ours, wholesaling specifically, right? That's one. And then you start to, I mean, it becomes validation, self-validation. I did it once. Like, what holds me back from doing it again?
Which builds confidence, and also then it gets great because then you get to the point where at least for me, like how my personality is, you know, I had a chip on my shoulder. You know, like I didn't have a dad, so I was pissed, and the fucking Merrill Lynch and getting fired, and everybody around me was like, dude, what the hell are you doing? Like, you're fucking crazy. Like all my friends at the time were in finance, you know, and they were their little cushy jobs making 80 grand a year. I'm out here in the rain putting up fucking bandit signs at 1 in the morning driving Uber,
right?
And with a degree. Yeah. And I had a better job than them, which is ironic. So, and then I look at it and I'm like, what am I doing out here? But then, you know, you hit your first deal and the shut up check, and I was like, fuck yeah.
And it's a real thing.
Yeah, and then dude, like deal 2, 3, 4, 5 were probably within the next month and a half, 2 months from each other. Yeah. But again, I was also hustling like a motherfucker. Yeah. You know? And we can curse on this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. You're gonna bleep this out?
No.
But seriously, like I still think that I hustle, you know, from a certain place, right? It's different now. But yeah, man, it was, the work ethic was just, it was there. And I always had it in my forefront of the fear of what had happened to me, you know?
Well, I mean, we can lay there and die when, you know, stuff gets tough. Or we can do something about it, right? I feel like when we're in that state of survival mode, it can be a very powerful thing. Yeah. It can be a powerful thing. One thing that I see happening is people get to this, you know, quasi level of success, right, quote unquote, and they get comfortable, and then nothing motivates me anymore. Like because they're out of that I need to survive mentality.
The thermostat is reset.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's like or you hit a number, or you know whatever benchmark, you level up a little bit and whatnot, and then that motivation, that drive, that those teeth, kind of start to fade away a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think that's when you transition into other stuff, right? Like we get we pivot on that purpose. The purpose first is not to die. We're in fucking survival mode. Yeah. For crying out loud. It's gonna be more often than not, it's gonna be a financial goal, and then you get to this phase. You get out of that, that drowning, state. Mm-hmm. But then I think it's inevitable to want to contribute. Like now, you've had in a very high level of success. Now you have a track record.
Thank you.
You have background when it comes to finances. You understand your numbers, and I've seen you put deals together. Super sharp dude. I don't care what anybody else says. And and
He's gonna edit that part out.
yeah, you know I'm not.
He doesn't want it. He doesn't want it to replay.
No. And now you're coaching. Like now you're making a bigger impact in other people. Just like you needed it when somebody was say be here at 11 o'clock tomorrow. Yeah. So it's really incredible how life kind of takes us on this whirlwind sometimes, and we get tested. I mean, it tests the fuck out of us.
Yeah, dude. It hasn't been easy. Over a year ago, I had reached a certain level of success and all that, and the business was, it had rocketed off. Granted, it took us 5 years to get there, right? Of straight hard work. But yeah, bro, I got arrogant. I got complacent to a certain degree. I was, hot shit. I just could do no wrong, right?
Yeah.
Doing like 15, 20 deals a month. What could you tell me? You know what I'm saying? It's very different now. I got super humbled after that. But yeah, I mean,
this is after the switch of the market or
no, this was like a year and a half ago from today.
Okay.
Like when we first had really taken off, and we were like on track to do 3 to 4 at that time. That was before we hit the 7. And yeah, I got a little full of I drank my own Kool-Aid. And I just realized that.
And that that made had an impact on the company and the results. Is that what you're saying? Or?
It had an impact on the company and the results, but it also had an impact on me personally.
Yeah.
I was just not. I didn't like who I had become at that moment.
Yeah.
And then it took me months to really dig deep, do like a personal inventory, personal audit, right? And of course now it's a very different story, right? Humility was very. It was missing a lot at that time.
You said something really important right now, and I think it's key, and it's something that I do on a regular basis. But what does a personal inventory or a personal audit look like for you? Walk me through that process. I think, and if you guys are listening, take notes on this section specifically, really, because it's important to have that self-awareness.
Yeah. So, I have like a professional athlete, right?
Yeah.
They have coaches, they have handlers, and LeBron James has a dietitian, right? Tells him what to eat, when to eat it, right? Yeah. You would think that LeBron James is a stud, right? But he knows where to source coaches and help, right?
Yeah.
So I have coaches that help me with that. Writing stuff down, going through it. Thankfully, having a good relationship, a good support system around me, where a lot of people who cared about me were like, "Yo, what are you doing?"
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really just taking a good hard look. Therapy too. I'm proud to say that, right? Like professionally, it's a therapist that deals a lot with entrepreneurs. So we're a very specific breed, right?
Yeah.
So just being honest, man, and working through shit and going through a lot of very uncomfortable things that you don't realize through, and we won't really get so deep into it because it's a lot, but you don't realize how much you've buried in your life, right?
Yeah.
Subconscious. I mean, you're a psychologist, so you get it, but I feel like I'm in a therapy session right now, but but
really, tell me more.
Yeah, right. You're writing everything down, which is funny. No, but seriously, and you really go through it and you go deep and you really dive into it, and it's fucking uncomfortable because you have to face things like, damn, I did that, or like, damn, I acted like that, and you view yourself and you're like, what the fuck, it just goes back to ego and pride.
Yeah, 1,000%.
Ego is dangerous, dude. It's dangerous.
What one question that I like to just place in front of myself, when I'm going through moments like that, and it's if you haven't had that conversation with yourself, you need to. And I'm not, I'm talking to the audience out there, right? Like, if you haven't really had an honest conversation with yourself, what kind of person do you want to become? What person do you want to be? And is what you're doing right now, the actions that you're taking, the circles that you're hanging out with, are they in alignment with that kind of stuff, right?
Right.
This is a conversation that must happen before any change gives.
Mm-hmm.
But I like to go back to like my my 5-year-old self. It's
Yeah.
like, all right, when it's, I don't know, when I'm on the crossroads of something that's ethical or something that's gonna, break my values, I'll ask myself, like, what would my 5-year-old me be okay with that? Like,
Yeah.
or would he, think I'm an asshole?
That's
right?
a good point. That's a good
So,
point.
I mean, I don't know. I try to look for the space of purity within, within myself.
Like innocence.
Yeah, the space of innocence,
Yeah.
and I
You
don't,
lose that
it's,
sometimes, you know?
yeah, it's it just kind of paints a perspective of things, but understanding, having that conversation with yourself, man, it takes balls to do that. Whether you're a man or a woman,
Yeah.
the various I mean.
Yeah.
So it does, like, to be completely honest with yourself. More importantly, to take, to back it up and take the action, and change the path, right? Because I mean, there's a lot of willpower going into that.
No pun intended.
Yeah, no pun intended. There's a lot of, there's a lot of, things that are gonna have to be moved when we have, habits that are already built out. When you have a certain way of understanding life and seeing life, and rationalizing what is okay with life. Like, a lot of times we have to change that shit because it's not serving us.
Right.
And it's not definitely not serving the person that we want to become. So, or the impact that we want to have.
Yeah, it's even, I mean, I don't see it a lot. That's why
Yeah.
I feel comfortable, and I wanted to kind of, I'm glad that you brushed on it, but like, even, we're on Instagram Live right now, this is a podcast, right? This is going to be out there for everyone.
Yeah.
But it's, everyone, and I think Instagram and all that, and
there's only 2 people watching right now, right?
Yeah,
Your mom
sure.
and my mom.
My
Yeah.
mom, yeah, my girl's there too. But
Yeah.
seriously, like, I see a lot of what's on social and the world that we live in, which is, it's beautiful and it's awesome. It's so much access to this information and stuff like
Yeah.
that. It's great. But there's also another side to it where I see that a lot of people, I'll just come out and say it, are full of shit, and they paint this pretty beautiful picture of, I'm an entrepreneur and I could do no wrong, and I make all this money, and my life is perfect, and my relationship's perfect. I have no problems. I wake up every day, 5 a.m, I get a smile. I've already ran 10 miles in the morning. It's all this fluff where, it's good to talk about stuff like this, because being an entrepreneur and this journey, which we were talking the other day, right? The book that I'm finishing now, The Infinite Game, right? Business is not, you have finite games in life and you have infinite games.
Yeah.
Business is an infinite game. It never ends.
Never
it
ends.
literally never ends. Even Jeff Bezos is still in his game, right? He's really far ahead, but he's still in his game. The only time that the game ends is when you sell the business or you close down.
Right.
So
and you stop,
right,
altogether.
and then you do something else, right? But we're in an infinite game. I mean, I choose to be in an infinite game for sure. A finite game is like a football game, right?
Yeah.
Somebody scores, enough
quarters,
scoring,
boom, you're out,
4 quarters, points, there's a winner. There's a tie, there's overtime, there's a winner.
Right.
Right? Business isn't like that, and neither is life. Neither is life. Life is never like that. You have to continue to move on. And what you wake up today, who I was a year ago, dude, me today, I would look at myself a year ago and be like, dude, you're an asshole. And I hope that a year from now I'll look at the person who's sitting in this chair and be like, all right, bro, that was a pretty cool dude. And I'm better for it. You know what I mean? And you too. You do the relationships and the friendships that I have now, and the different rooms that I'm able to be in.
Yeah.
I noticed a huge change because of me changing, for the better. And it allowed me to be in these types of rooms, which I'm extremely grateful for, and to have friendships like you know what I mean? So I think that,
thank you, man.
That's the whole law of attraction thing, where you attract what you are,
I mean, it really goes, everything is energy. It really goes back to that, vibration that you draw people. I mean, we started collaborating, actually. I mean, from a conversation that somebody else, actually, Matt, big shout out to Matt.
What up, Matt?
Andrews, Family Mastermind. What's up?
My F shirt.
Yeah, I know. We should have done that.
Yeah, we should have done that.
But he knew you, he knew me, and he was like, all right, these guys need to talk. We hit it off, and we started, just kind of brainstorming on a few things. We overlapped. It's incredible how similar the backgrounds are, really, like the storyline between what you've gone through, what I've gone through. And there's a lot of similarities there, right? But again, I feel like those connections, they don't naturally happen if people are in different, frequencies, different wavelengths.
Agreed.
One, because you're not going to be listening to the same type of stuff. You're not going to be, getting exposed to the same type of conversations. People are not going to think of you in the same light, right, as somebody else that they might know. If your conversation, your energy, your it's different, right? So it's kind of this matching game. We're going through life, literally playing a matching game, and one thing that I don't think I was closed off to it. I just wasn't aware that it was such a fucking great thing. Was collaboration. In my head was okay, cool. I gotta. I don't know. Competition. It's okay. I'm in it for myself. When I built the first business, it was all me, like my secrets, my ideas, my stuff that nobody knows about. Hey,
which is like so childish too. I mean, I've done it too, right?
Yeah.
It's so childish to think that way. I remember there was a point in time too in real estate where I was like, oh, nobody knows what I know. And I'm like, dude, there's somebody. Now I think about it, I'm like, there's somebody out there that did that shit 20 years ago.
The crazy thing is though, like, and this is what separates, right, the results from the theory. It's the doingness, the fucking taking action. A lot of people are gonna know the theory of a lot of things, right?
Oh, yeah.
But taking the actions and going through that motion of things and growing, that personal growth that happens when you get hit with adversity, when you're in the middle of a fucking highway putting up bandit signs and you decide to just go ball out and vent, you can either break down there or say, fuck this is not me. I'm meant for something, something bigger, and continue pushing.
It's cool, man.
I mean, I think that's
have your breakdown.
Yeah.
Have your moment.
We need that. We all
do
need
your
that.
thing.
You know one thing.
Pick it up and keep it moving.
You know
That's
one thing
all
I
I'm
do, and this is gonna be crazy as shit. All right, I can't believe I'm saying it.
Oh god.
To all the masses.
The 3 people watching.
The 3 people watching. No, actually, we have a pretty good following on iTunes on the podcast. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I don't know, like 7 or 8 people. So I'm telling you, man. All right, so one thing I do, and this is funny as fuck, is when I feel bottled up, when I get super stressed, I use when I'm driving down the freeway, I'll scream my lungs out, bro, in the car.
Yeah.
By myself. Like sometimes and this is actually an exercise. I went through this leadership training years ago, and one of the things was just like scream your fucking energy out. Like you have that bad energy inside of you, just scream it out. Either that or go punch a bag or something, right? But yeah. Channel it somehow, some way. So screaming it out actually works. For me, it just makes me feel better. It's like I released something that was, I don't know, just festering in there. And then after the scream, like whatever the issue was or situation, it doesn't feel. I mean, it may still be bad or whatever, but it doesn't feel as bad.
Yeah, I can see how that would work.
So I'll be driving down the freeway, and then turn off the music, and there's like I'll start talking to myself, beating myself up for whatever, just getting like. Kind of, yeah, like I don't know, bathing in my own bullshit there for a little bit, and then let it out. Boom, energy, like let it out, and it happens. It's usually like a I don't know, a 10-15 minute thing, and it releases, man. It's just like, whew.
I'm gonna see the cops called in Phoenix one day.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
this guy is he's
in his car,
like he's hitting the wheel and doing shit.
That's awesome,
not
though,
supposed
man.
to do.
Listen,
I don't know, everybody has their way.
Everybody has their own thing, and I think nothing. One thing I'll say is,
wow, I can't believe I said that. Yeah.
That's great, bro. Thank you for sharing. But seriously,
it's true.
One thing is communication, man, and nothing is ever. The older I get, I'm 31 now, but the older I get, I realize like nothing is really, as cliche as it sounds, it's not as bad as it seems.
Yeah.
And it's just gonna pass, no matter what, right? And I think that there's very, very severe things in life that you're like, oh shit, you really need to worry about those things.
Yeah.
But dude, there's sometimes an argument with a spouse or whatever. Most of those things, and not saying that it doesn't happen, or with a business partner, right? Or whatever it will be, or with a seller, or with a buyer, a lot of the times, bro, 99% of the times, it's somebody's ego, or somebody felt unheard, or somebody felt not validated.
Yeah.
And now there's a problem.
Not appreciated a lot of times.
But a lot of the times it's just it's so simple. You know, I remember early on in my career when I was still you know, in the day to day with sellers. A lot of the deals, I started noticing a trend where, you know, a seller would freak out or want to back out or whatever. And I'd go talk to them and be like, listen, what is it that you want? And they're like, well, you know what? I think it's extremely unfair that I didn't get the $1,000 for the closing costs. Yeah. I'm like, are we serious? Like, in my mind, I'm like, this is a 40K assignment. Like, what the fuck? Yeah. I'll give you the $1,000. Like, I didn't know that. Oh, well, you will? And I'm like, yeah, I will. Oh, okay. And I'm like, this is so dumb. This is so silly, right?
It's really a lot of the times it's not about the nuts and the bolts of the transaction or the situation or whatever. It's really about the emotional impact that's having on them. So take, for example, like one thing that we always come across when we're, you know, I don't know, cold calling or reaching out to people to see if we can get some business, right?
Right.
People get pissed off. People just, I mean, get irate sometimes at, you know, at us.
It's a nice word.
One thing that I know, right? Yeah, love and lump. So... So one thing that I learned early on was, and it's because I sat there and I thought it was like, it was just a call. I was just asking one question. This guy just, you know, I mean, he just plowed through me with insults and
he probably hadn't driven his car and yelled in it that day.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, I should have told him that. I missed
Honestly,
it. Yeah,
you should.
I missed an opportunity to help somebody
on
that. But you know, I sat back and was like, this guy can't be mad at me. Like, it's not, I'm not the issue. Like, there's no way I'm the issue. And not because I'm so cool and so, like, everybody likes me. But it's because he doesn't know me. Like, he has no idea who I am. I'm just a phone call. I'm just a voice on the other side of the phone. Like, there's something going on with that guy that I happen to be just kind of like the droplet that spilled the cup. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And understanding that it's big, it's huge. Understanding that a lot of times the reactions or the things that are going to create the problems and really, you know, fester and grow are simple things that go back to emotion, they go back to acceptance, they go back to understanding, they go back to giving somebody their space to express themselves. It doesn't matter what you do out there as an entrepreneur, you're in the people business. You know, be a good human, right?
Correct. Yeah, I think that's saying a lot, you know, and I think also when you're at a different point in your life, right? Like I'm at a point right now where I'm not content, but I can say that after the last year that I had, I'm very happy with where I'm at. You know, things aren't perfect. You know, it's a moving target, but I'm at peace, if you will.
It's an infinite game.
Yeah, with a lot of stuff, and look, it's hard for me. I have a big ego. I have a lot of pride. I want to be right. I'm very hard charging. I know, surprise to a lot of people that are watching this. But seriously, you know, I'm trying and I'm conscientiously working on just like, all right, do you really, I kind of like do like a mini self-audit and I'm like, do you really have to get upset at this shit?
Yeah.
Like, what are you going to do by sending this text? Or what are you going to do by making that call? Like, what are you going to do if you get upset or storming out of this place? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like those kinds of things. And then you just run it through and you're like, yeah. I could swallow my pride on this one. Like, why? Then I got to pick up all the freaking pieces to this shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I'm sorry for this. You know, you got to apologize to a buyer, apologize to a seller, or, you know, an employee, whatever it may be, you know, or a personal, whatever. There's so many things where it's just like, you know, I love the expression, if it won't matter in 5 years, then don't waste 5 minutes on it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so true.
It's true.
So true.
And I'm trying to... You know, I think it makes you a better leader, and it also makes you a better business owner, right? An operator.
We have certain bandwidth, man. We can't be like I think our main role, especially when you have a team, when you have people under, you know, that are not under, but that are working with you in your business. We have to have that focus, right? And that objectiveness on, okay, what really matters. This is I don't know. This is, you know, water cooler talk. This really matters. On the other hand,
right?
You know what I mean? Being able to define that, because like that's really what makes the difference between us and you know, the rest of us. People want somebody, especially if they go join a company, right? They want somebody they can rely on, they can trust. They want to be part of something big. And as entrepreneurs, if it's your business, like, you're gonna be at the top of that thing. You know what I mean?
That's your baby.
So,
But, you know, also that's why I think I get a lot of fulfillment and a lot of enjoyment from helping people, coaching, mentoring, whatever you want to call it, because you get to see somebody that was once you outgrow you, if you will. We were
Yeah.
talking about this yesterday. Or, you know, come in this way and leave that way, right?
Yeah.
And then you always have that relationship. You get to, you know, there's something special about when you're helping somebody clear a deal and they make more money than they've ever made, and you know that you had a part in that.
Yeah, you were in there somehow.
Yeah, and it's like you watch their mind just like,
Yeah.
it's never the same. You know, if I had like the little bomb drop that Brad Lee has, I'll drop the bomb in this podcast. It's really, but it's true, man, because you remember what it was like
Right.
when you got that check or that wire.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I like to think about the evolution too, like how when they first came in or when we first met or whatnot, like what's gone, you know, what has transpired along the months or you know, sometimes years
Right.
that people have been coaching. It's like, man, I remember like yesterday we were driving around town. I got a call from one of the students, but they're working on a multi-family deal. It's going to be multiple, you know, millions of dollars involved.
Yeah.
And like, I
he's
remember
jacked.
we were having issues
Yeah.
about a 5K assignment, you know, a year and a half ago, 2 years
Yeah.
ago. So,
It's crazy,
so-
bro. And you know, you go through that
So-
and you evolve that way.
Yeah, and planting that seed, man, is huge. I'm excited. So kind of, you know, switching gears. I'm excited about what's going to happen because I mean it really relates to that. But this afternoon we're actually doing a training in my office. You and I were going to be doing a master class on shifting, right? What's going on in the wholesaling space, how we need to shift in the months to come. Right now, December 2022, everything's just fucking crazy out there. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of moving parts, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like it's almost like a responsibility, man, to if you're in the forefront, you're taking action, you see where things are kind of headed and what's working for you and whatnot. I think, you know, as coaches, like it's a responsibility to bring it over and, you know, and create that awareness, right?
Agreed.
Like the world is not, you know, it's not ending. We just have to move, you know, certain things around. People keep saying, man, I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say, man, if I knew what I know now back in 2008,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
well, right now is that time.
Yeah.
Right now is that time.
First of all, that never exists.
Yeah.
Second of all, you're gonna be saying that in 2026.
Exactly.
About 2022.
Like now is the time to take action.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think I could look back at, we could both look back at our lives, and anyone who's listening, you can look back on your life and how many times did you say that, and how many times could you have done something about it and just
Right.
taking a different approach today, right here, right now. So, you know, and that's what I think is, it's funny, right? Where the end of the year, right? The people are, you know, I'm going to do my New Year's resolution and January
Yeah.
1st, I'm a whole new human being. And that's great and it's awesome, but why not just start today if today's October, let's say?
Right.
What the fuck do you have to wait till January
This is the
of
new
the
year
next year?
for
Like
next
the
year.
earth is going to spin and
Yeah.
you're going to, oh my God, like
Yeah.
you're going to be a triathlete.
Yeah.
No.
The New Year is an arbitrary, you know.
Yeah, I mean, people just use it as like, all right, I'm gonna get it all out now, and then
Yeah,
January
yeah,
1st.
yeah.
It's like, dude, you again, it's awesome, do your
Yeah.
thing, but most of the time, people don't stick to that.
Yeah.
Because why do you have to have a date to do that? Just do it now. Start
Yeah.
now. And I talk about this all the time, where I used to think that I want to be 100% better every day,
Yeah.
which is not feasible, right? But
Yeah.
then I had a mentor of mine.
Like, what if you're just 1%?
Exactly. And they were like, dude, how many days are there in a year? And I'm like, there's 365. He's like, great. What if you were 1% better every day?
Inconsistent.
And would
Yeah.
it be hard for you to be 1% better? I'm like, no. If you're making 100 calls a day, that's one extra call, right?
Yeah.
Let's just break it down to
Yeah.
a metric. If you close one extra deal a month,
Yeah.
whatever that is, or one extra deal in the year, whatever, right? Dude, that's so, first of all, it's so doable.
Yeah.
Second of all, chances are you're going to blow past the 1%.
Yeah.
Third of all, you're not going to overwhelm yourself and go balls to the wall, weekend warrior, 100%, 100%, 100%. Week 3,
Yeah.
negative 1,500% because you couldn't sustain that.
Yeah.
You know, you don't just go from waking up at 7 a.m. one day and then you're like 5:15 every day now for the rest of my life. It's like, buddy,
Yeah.
it's not going to work.
Yeah.
You might hit it a couple times, but your body's going to retract back. You have to do, goals have to be big and audacious, but the path to get to those goals has to be very incremental. And the biggest thing that I think people overlook is the consistency for it.
I think, well, you said it. I think you said it perfectly earlier. I mean, it's
thank
the
you.
long play, man.
Yeah.
It is. This is an infinite game. Life
It is.
and business, right?
It is.
It's about constant growth. It's about staying on it. It's about creating that those habits that are really gonna take us through life. It's not. I think a lot of times we look for a result, right? When in reality we should be looking for habits, like the ability to create a habit behind it. So okay, the result I want is I don't know, to have three deals this month or 5 deals this month or 10 deals, whatever. Okay, but the habit I need to build is actually having conversations with people.
Correct.
You know what I mean? And how, what happens. So I think the clarity of the goals really comes through the habits that we are, in alignment with. Going back to that personal audit, ask yourself, right? Are the habits I have on my daily life, like, are they in alignment with the stuff that I want to do? Like, if you go out drinking every single fucking night, yet you want to work out at 5 a.m. in the morning, it's not going to pan out, right?
Not long term.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a bad habit, and
Agreed.
it's a simple example, but yeah, it's not too hard, right, to shift, some of those behaviors to really get in alignment of where you want to be. I mean, heck, you were talking about the person that you were a year ago. Now you feel you're in a different headspace. You have different results, and because of habits.
I'll give you the perfect example. Talking about habits and all that. I'm going to make a post one of these days, and I'm going to put a before and after picture.
Yeah.
So April of last year, so April of 2021, I was 243 pounds. I was fat by all intents and purposes. I'm calling myself that. Nobody better get offended by this, and if you do, please don't be a snowflake. But seriously, I was fat. I was out of shape. I had boobs that were bigger than my girlfriend's. It just was not fun for me. And dude, it took me like a year and a half, and I'm not in perfect shape right now, but I am in phenomenal shape in comparison to that guy. But it took me a year and a half of habits.
Right.
And it was, but I was, again, for those of you that are listening, I was very intentional about it. I went and got a badass trainer. I went and got a diet. I went and followed it. He would hold me accountable. I worked out with him 5-6 times a week. Sometimes I was working out twice a day. Right? And I was very consistent, right? I'd cut out a lot of other things, right? Just bad habits.
Yeah.
But it took me a year and a half to look like this. And when I run into people that I haven't seen in a long time, I was like, oh my God.
Bro, you're half the man you used to be.
What'd you... yeah, right? Literally. But, they're like, what'd you do? Oh my God. You're so lucky. Wow, look how you look. I'm like, dude, it's a year and a half of being consistent at something.
Of new
That's
habits.
what you're seeing.
Yeah.
It's a whole new human being.
Yeah.
Not just physically, but the mental component of myself.
Yeah.
Now, as opposed to then, that's a completely different train of thought. That's a completely different way of looking at things. That's a completely happier individual.
Yeah.
I'm happier with myself. I'm more energetic, which I put more energy into business. I like how I look, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I carry myself differently. My clothes are fit. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was huge. When you go buy all new clothes, you're like, dude, I freaking accomplished something here. You know what I'm saying? And it makes it worthwhile. And I firmly believe that if you're gonna talk about discipline and all that, and in all areas of your life, it should line up.
There has to be congruency.
There has to be.
There has to be congruency.
You know what I mean? There has to be. And,
Granted, nobody's like, we're not talking perfection here, right?
No.
But we're talking alignment. We're talking congruency. We're talking
Correct.
It's
bro, it's mind, body, soul, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter. It will only translate better and transfer better into, if you have a career, or if you're a hard charging entrepreneur, or if you want to do a podcast, whatever. All that shit is going to filter better, and it's going to allow you to perform better. You have better relationships. People are going to want to be around you, not because you look physically better, but it is a certain matter of perspective.
Yeah.
And you're carrying yourself differently,
Yeah.
And that's where I think people need to shift that. And I think that I'm not old. I'm 31, but I'm not like an 18-year-old. But I think the generation today it's like instant gratification. I want instant gratification.
Yeah.
They see a Lambo online and, oh my God, real estate wholesaling. It fucking works, right?
Yeah.
I should have a Lambo in 6 months.
Yeah, but it's not. Again, it goes back to the ability to put in the work. Like, you're gonna get adversity, you're gonna get hit. Everybody has a plan until they get hit in the face, right? Tyson said it.
Like Tyson.
And when you get hit in the face, like, what do you do about it, right? Like, that's really the magic of the liberty that we choose to have as entrepreneurs, man.
Yes.
So yeah, I love it. With that being said, man, I wanna before we wrap it up, this afternoon we're doing an event in my office. It's a free event.
That's right.
And we're teaching 3 sessions. One on business systems processes, another one on shifting, what's working. You're gonna be talking innovations, and then we're doing a full session on mindset. I think that's gonna be the moneymaker, really, because
This was the warm up to that.
yeah, this is the warm up to that. I mean, everything in business, nuts and bolts go a long way, right? I get it.
Sure.
But when you're having that internal conversation, when you're having that self talk, when you don't have those little things that can set you back into the path when you feel like you're falling off the wagon, that can be very dangerous, right? And that's gonna break you as an entrepreneur. It's gonna break your business. It's gonna break your culture. It's gonna break your team. It's gonna break your results.
Agreed.
So it's the one thing that we have to hyper focus on, and I think it's one of the things that is the least talked about.
Yeah, because it's not flashy.
Yeah.
And
It's not sexy.
it's not sexy. That's for sure.
I mean, I just admitted to screaming at myself when I feel
Right.
stressed and
Right.
on the freeway. So it's like this guy.
But I would
crazy.
say that more than anything, I'm excited to present tonight and
Yeah.
to speak and to host this event. And thank you for having me. But yeah, we're collaborating a lot more, and we've done a lot of great things already.
Yeah.
We have a lot of really great things coming, both on the English side, but also the Latino side and the Spanish side,
Yeah.
which is it's going to be great, and hopefully the goal is to reach a lot more people that want to do this business that might not understand it 100%,
Yeah.
both on both sides, right?
Yeah.
But mentality and mindset, it's what's going to keep you there, for
Right.
sure.
For sure.
It's not necessarily what'll get you there, but it'll definitely keep you in the fight,
Yeah.
because it is a fight and it's not easy. So that's an exciting topic.
I love it, brother. So if somebody wants to get a hold of you, where's the best place to reach you?
All right, so Willie Numbers, at Willie Numbers is the IG. TikTok is the same, and then willienumbers.com. So WILLY numbers.com.
.com.
That's my website. I have anything there if you want a JV on a deal, or if you want to do coaching or mentorship or a course, or you just want to browse around a really cool website. That's me too. So and you can hit me up on DM. I'm pretty active with my DMs and all that. So
Yeah.
I post content every day.
Nice.
And then we have our website.
Yeah.
If you want to shout it out.
Yeah. The marketshiftmasterclass.com. That's the website for the trainings and everything that we're doing tonight.
Right.
With that being said, I'm going to drop my plug. If you want to follow me at Rafael Cortez, CEO, make sure that you like the podcast. If you're liking the content that I'm putting together out there for you guys and the conversations that I keep having with people like Will, share it. All right. If you feel like somebody can benefit from these talks, plant a seed or push it forward. Send them the link. We appreciate it. Subscribe, like, and share. And my favorite question, bro. This is my favorite question.
What are you gonna have for dinner?
What are you gonna have for? No, if you were walking down the street, and you ran into your 17-year-old self, what would you tell that kid?
Keep fucking going, and you got way more in the tank than you ever thought was possible.
Woo! Fire!
Yeah,
Fire!
that's exactly what I would say.
Bro, it's an honor having you in the podcast.
Thank you, bro.
Always a blast with you. I'm looking forward to all the crazy shit that we're gonna be coming up with and putting out there for the good. Family, with that being said, stay focused. You got this. Catch you in the next one.
Take care, guys.
It's a wrap.
That's it.